welcome. Hello, everyone. Happy new moon. Excited to be picking these back up again. Something that we did somewhat regularly with Bill. So I'm Brian Hemmer. I'm here with my lovely wife, Amy, and joined by the lovely Isabella and Barbara Sumner and Brendan Smith somewhere.
And the dog.
And Ziva. So since this is the first one we've recorded of these, I just wanted to start with a quick kind of intro into what are new moons, what's the value of them, what do they mean? And so the way I like to think about it is just another great check-in point, instead of maybe doing at the end of the calendar month, centering it around the new moon or the moon cycle, where every 28 days and change, there's a new cycle, right? So we've got the new moon, which is the start of the cycle. We've got the full moon, which is the middle of the cycle. And then we start it all over again each new moon. And this one's particularly powerful or meaningful because it's coincides with a solar eclipse, I think. Is that right? Yep. So what we like to do is set intentions around this. And so I typically like to kind of review how things went the last cycle or two. What are some things that I'd love to change, drop, improve, and trying to think what else. So if you think of the power of setting intentions, just like, farmers kind of center their planting their seeds around new moons, the same kind of power resides in setting intentions. And so we take this time to really get intentional about, again, the things we'd like to change, the things that we want more of in our life, the things we want less of. And then each new moon has its own kind of value based on the astrological calendar. And this is our second, I believe, in Aries, and Isa will get into some more detail on that. But yeah, anything you would add to that, Isa, as far as just new moons in general?
No, I think you described it well. Just a really great space for us to work off of replanting, reviewing, and getting a great insight as to maybe what worked, what didn't. And each time the new moon moves into a different cycle, obviously different emotions and things will come up depending on how deep you'll get into your, sun, moon, rising sign. But as an overall collective is when you'll feel just that big shift in things around you. And the more in tune you are with them, the better you can move through the changing elements of it, which is really powerful.
Yeah, and I think the last thing I'd add is, if this is something new or not really in your belief system, putting a more, I guess, practical lens, because this can be more of a kind of spiritual or metaphysical kind of concept for most. But really, when you think about the fact that, the planets are moving in a cycle, and just as the ocean tides follow the moon and its orbit around Earth, and then our orbit around the sun, these, you have to think that they have some kind of effect on us, and we're 75-80% water, so if it's affecting the oceans in that way, does it have some kind of effect on us? I like to think so. And so again, we're just honoring the kind of natural motions of the solar system, of our planet, of the universe, and harnessing the power of that. So with that, Isa, do you want to get into some of the specifics around this new moon?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll keep it pretty short and simple, but I think, as I stated, you have different energies that go into times around when the horoscopes fall in. So Cancer, Gemini, Taurus. And as Brian said, if that's not something you're totally into, that's fine. It's just kind of a collective way that you can really dig into what's happening to the planetary system. So with this new moon, we have the sun actually moving into Taurus. So we start into a new cycle within our astrological time frame. It's a little bit more of a slowdown period because Taurus is an earth sign. So it's going to ask you to connect a little bit more deeply with yourself. Taurus typically relies around practicality, being reliable, really resourceful. They're a natural problem solver who can really make a dream or idea come to life. And this season is really going to ground you in what you started during Aries. So even if you did an intention or not for this last one, what comes up with this is actually our second new moon in Aries. So it's not uncommon that depending on the time and the dates, you might see 2 new moons, 2 full moons, etc. But with this, you're right on that cusp that you're in the Aries season and it's going to land you straight into Taurus tomorrow. What's really cool with this new moon, though, is we're actually seeing what's considered a hybrid or a solar eclipse. So I believe the way that tonight falls is it's in central time zone on the 19th. And then for anything East Coast past, it falls in on the 20th around like midnight. But when that happens, anytime you have an eclipse, it's essentially a gift from the universe. They come along to reveal truths, just like your new moon is all about darkness and going inward. When you don't have the sun and that light, it can kind of put you into maybe what you're hiding from, what you've been avoiding, maybe things that subconsciously have been keeping you stuck. And you get this really great, insightful moment to look in and say, in this, how do I want to actually come out of it when I see the light again? What do I no longer want to carry with me? And what do I want to bring with me into the next cycle? So with that, the only other thing that I will say is that Aries is the reboot of the entire cycle. So essentially, this is going to be your last new moon into like what would be considered an astrological new year, Aries being like the youngest. It's really a powering down of any identities. And then when you power back on, it's the reboot. So think about your computer, your phone. When you turn it back on, it has like this fresh charge to it. And that's really what we're getting right now with this new moon in this cycle. And you really can just start to think a little bit more of like, what do I need going forward that is going to continue to show up for myself the next year, the next cycle, what really actually matters. And that's what I have. Brian, do you have anything else to add on to that?
Let's see. Yeah, that's all things that I researched, I guess. As far as this one, the only thing I would add is like what I was reading is there can be kind of this energy of almost chaos or turmoil, especially with uncovering things that you weren't very conscious of before, with things to Isa's point, being, light being shed upon them. It can be sometimes shocking. It can be things that kind of turn your world upside down. So something to just be aware of. It may not be the case for everyone, but in this time of, I think, if I remember correctly from the last new moon, this is kind of like a second chance to that for as far as intention setting, because we're still in that window of very powerful with intention setting for the next, what was it? Like 20 years or something like that. So not meant to be daunting, but, really be intentional and conscious about what you're putting forward, what you're putting in motion, the things that you do want to drop, and just being aware that things can be shaken up, and find the help and the resources that you need to manage that and go through that.
And then the last thing I'll add to that, as Brian said, this is all research that we're gathering. So some good resources. There's obviously a lot online. And what I would tell you is go to what really is drawn to you. So if you're not necessarily like super into the crazy, this is your sign, and you want just a general, you can look at what the new moon represents. And then if you want a little bit more, there's lots of research resources. There's Chani, CHANI app. There's CoStar. They all provide like really cool journal prompts. And if you know like your birth date, you can actually dig a little bit further into maybe even just knowing what your sign is and what that means. Some people will heavily relate to it and others won't. But anytime you get into a new moon, you can even say like, oh, well, like this one, I don't feel chaos, but maybe you're not affected to it because you're an earth sign. You are already grounded. This isn't going to like shake your foundation versus we're coming out of a power sign into another power sign. Maybe it's going to cause you more issues because you'll have more emotions coming up, or you might have, again, that chaos that Brian described. So always digging a little bit further into yourself. And it may not just be like, oh, hi, I'm a Capricorn. It could be, okay, I have noticed this week things have felt off. I'm emotional. Like, what is going on? Why would that be coming up? And then you get the opportunity to just reground yourself. You get like a recycle. Doesn't have to be January 1st. It's once, or in this case, twice a month, to just redo and give a really great idea about what you want your intentions to be.
Love it. Yeah, I think that captures it all. Yeah, do we want to pull a card for just the collective listeners? And one thing I'll say about that is like, you can get into the nitty gritty, you can get into the specifics around, you know, your sign in particular, but on a collective level, we're all kind of going through the shift together, right? Like, and we have felt that collectively for the past several years, I think. And so with pulling a card, you know, this is just a message with the intention to keep everyone in mind. So take it for what it's worth, you know, integrate it if it's meaningful to you. And then if you're interested in getting readings, you can either reach out to Isa or myself, and you can try that out too. So do you have a deck you want to work with?
I mean, what decks do you have? Because I have one that was Bill's that we could definitely pull from that could have some very powerful energy. And obviously
I've got a few here, but yeah, I'd say go for that deck if you want.
Yeah, let me just go quickly run and grab it. Of course I didn't grab it.
I'll pull one as well from one of my decks here. Let's see. You choose.
I choose.
Yeah.
This one.
Ascended Masters.
Mm-hmm.
It's my fave. To get back.
Yeah. Yes. All right. I'm back. Did you already pull yours?
I have not, but Amy selected the Ascended Masters deck.
Love that one. Classic. Very great.
My fave.
Messages from your angels. My favorite.
Perfect. Love it. So, and Ascended Masters, you know, these are familiar names that you've probably heard, like Jesus, Buddha, people who have ascended into another realm of existence, who had a lot of influence and power here in human form and still do. So we'll pull in a message for our collective listeners. Guidance, any messages for, one popped out. We've got Saint Germain, work your magic. Is that one?
It seems pretty fitting. Well, it seems very on brand, whether you want to believe it or not, you know. And then I'll pull from here.
I'll just do a quick reading for this one. You have the power to resolve the situation you're inquiring about. This card signifies your untapped magical abilities, which you've used successfully in the past. Pull these abilities out of your storage and use them to work your magic now. Your clear and focused intentions, positive expectations, prayers, decrees, and action steps all create the healings and manifestations you desire. Additional meanings are: decide clearly what you will and won't accept in the situation, as your clarity will bring immediate results. Have steady faith in a positive outcome. Study alchemy and manifestation principles. Very fitting for the new moon.
You'll love this one. Azure.
Okay.
Which is your desired outcome will occur in the very near future. Have patience and faith and don't try to force it to happen. Additional message. Yes, you will receive your wish. However, divine timing means that patience and positive visualizations are needed right now. Ask me to help buoy your faith so that you don't slip into negativity. You can speed up the process of answered prayers by having more faith in the inevitability. Conversely, doubts or worries about how your prayers will be answered will slow them down. Remember that how of answered prayers is up to the divine wisdom of the Creator. Although you may feel urgency or even panic about your prayers, please trust that we angels are working nonstop behind the scenes to help you. Keep surrendering and releasing these worries and fears to God and the angels. The more that you can stay centered in faith, the more easily we can assist you.
Love it.
When we talk about anything with like guides, angels, something just to keep in mind from the collective is read into it how you want. Sometimes the message maybe won't linger with you, but perhaps the picture has something. Depending on if you've cleared the energy of the deck, it can also attach others. So always make sure that you're working with a deck that you've really centered into your alignment. And then as always, know that this is really what we work on at the Inevitable You, right? Like, yes, tonight we're talking about new moon setting intentions, but at the end of the day, what this card and even Brian's card is reminding you of is that it's a whole lot more than just putting your faith into something, but it's also like mentally really sitting there and going like, I'm not giving into my negative thoughts. I'm actually like realigning with waking up with the intention around working towards that positive message and being continually impacted by what greatness I have within me and are all around me.
Yeah. Awesome. And one thing that came up to me with just those cards is like this theme around having faith in leaving what leaving the old patterns, things that you're really used to. Those things, like, we have comfort in those. We know the known, right? We have certainty in that, and it does take faith to really venture into the unknown. And so, working your magic, being very intentional, great things can happen in the unknown when you set the right intentions and manifestations and be conscious of what you are creating and not creating.
I did want to just add on in this card, it's a little difficult to see, but you can actually see the clock is aligned with about the time that our new moon in transition is happening, which I just think is
wow,
fun and kind of cool when you like take that. I'm like, let me look at the clock. And then it's, why would the time be then? So always wonderful.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, I guess I don't know if you can see the one. Sorry, Nala's making weird noises. The one symbol there is what do you call that? It's like the.
Isn't it a decahedron or whatever?
Yeah, is that dodecahedron? I don't know. It's two pyramids inverted on each other, so it makes like what you see as a Jewish star. Mm-hmm. But it's a symbol for sacred geometry, and that's working with the unseen kind of inner workings of the universe, knowing that everything follows a pattern, everything has some kind of mystic kind of design to it, and so you can do that consciously with your life.
Mm-hmm. I love it.
Cool. Well, you want to get into intentions. I know we want to pull cards for each other, so we'll probably do that, but just a few words just for the listeners on what to keep in mind as far as setting intentions. Some prompts maybe.
Yeah, so new moon intention prompts. What I have here is really in theme and more in line with kind of what the Taurus has to stay. So let me pull up. So questions along the lines of what things in my life need attention and how do I continue to bring them back on the right path? When darkness occurs and the light is no longer upon me, what can I see more clearly, or what have I been hiding from and avoiding? And then the last question really just roots in around, if I had the most amazing life and my dreams could all come true, what would that look like? You know, just really writing down truly the vision that you see, because the more that you write it down, say it out loud, and put it into focus, the more you're going to be able to clearly start to define it in the real world. And anytime intentions with the new moon, I've always found that the best is really to like take a moment, free form, just brain dump onto a paper. It could be I am statements. It could be the, you know, wishes and hopes that you have. What seeds are you planting? What are you working on? Is it a business idea? And then if applicable and you have the space, you can take just a small bowl and the power to actually burn the intentions. It just gives back the gift to the universe to allow them that you've released and are really clear on what your intentions are, and you are excited for what's to come.
Perfect. Yeah, love it. I think that captures it. So I think we're good to move into our own readings. So we're going to pull cards for each other. Again, if anyone's interested or wants cards pulled for them, please reach out to us. And you can do any number of things with them. As Isa mentioned, you know, sometimes we used to burn them, send them off, send the energy essence into the universe. You can keep them in a notebook or take a picture of it, do both, right? So, but I like to track mine. I also, I haven't burned them in a while, so I think that'd be a fun exercise to do. So I think that covers it all. Any finals from you, Isa, before we get into our cards?
No, I feel good. Really excited to see and watch the collective grow on this. I know it was something that Bill was really passionate about and is ingrained really within the inevitable you energy. So take with it what you want, leave what you don't need, and know that there's just the space here to show up however is comfortable for you. And we'll be here each new moon with a little new message for you.
Yeah. Perfect. Yeah. Well, excited to keep these going. Thanks everyone for listening. Have an excellent new moon.
Thank you.